Well, let's get across to New York. I think he's still in disbelief. Nick Lester, he's been on the ground for us, of course, British tennis commentator, a British female champion at the US Open, but one we could not have predicted. I mean, we've been talking, Nick, a lot about Emma Raducanu and her story the last fortnight, but to actually have the poise to get it done in a big final, what's your immediate reaction to it all?
Honestly, Brett, I'm shell-shocked. I think like most of British tennis are shell-shocked. Most probably of world tennis are. You know, certainly, as I said to you before, within British tennis circles, there was a knowledge that she was a good player. There was a knowledge that she struck a good ball. Last summer, we saw her working hard. You know, I spoke to a lot of coaches who worked with her. They were all very upbeat on the individual, first of all, not just the tennis player, but the individual in terms of her qualities. They worked a lot on her serve. They worked a lot on her slice. They developed her game. She didn't compete internationally last year. Yeah. She had studies. She had COVID. Parents were keen not to send her abroad. So no one really knew how the standard she was at, Brett. And that was the kind of the issue. There was no feeler in terms of where her game was at because she only competed domestically. So she beat a lot of players domestically, but no one really knew where that was going to take her long term. So, you know, that's why I think it's just caught so many people by surprise. It's just how quickly this has happened. It's totally unprecedented.
Nick, can you just take us back inside? We have talked about her getting that wild card to Wimbledon. Now, even if I go back to the Australian Open earlier this year, the last wild card that was given out to an Aussie was because Murray couldn't make the trip out. It went to a young guy called Lee Tu, who actually didn't even have an ATP ranking, but it started the UTRs the year before. So that caused a fair bit of comment and controversy. So in Raducanu's case, who was in line that didn't get that wild card that was above her at the time? And can you remember back to when she got announced as having that wild card
for Wimbledon?
Yep. What was the immediate reaction just from people around?
I don't think it was a lot of shock because no one really. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier on. Nobody knew the level she was at. Nobody really knew the level she was at unless you were really with her week in, week out. You know, she hadn't played a lot. She actually played a couple of British tours, which is domestic competitions in the spring. I think lost a couple of early matches. But again, around the time she had exams as well, let's not forget. Then she played in Nottingham, which was the week before. I can't remember the exact week. I want to say second week of Roland Garros, maybe first week of Roland Garros. Got a couple of wins. That then obviously piqued the interest of the committee at the club, who then decided to award her a wild card. But, you know, let's be frank about it. The initial decision was, as you say, to go against it. They held it. They didn't give it away. There was no case of giving it to somebody else. They held it because they can go down the rankings as they have done previously at the club, and then made that call to eventually give her the opportunity.
What do you think the legacy is going to be? I mean, not only for British tennis, but for anyone that's her age. I mean, women's tennis, the depth, we talk about that, the talent. I mean, this has got to inspire plenty who are, you know, they're trudging around the globe, playing in the ITFs, doing the hard yards, just trying to get a win and get their ranking improved. That, gee, maybe that could be me, possibly. I mean, surely there's got to be some rub-off here.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Brett, I probably actually think someone like Aslan Karatsev is going to inspire more people trudging around the circuit. This is an 18-year-old prodigy now, isn't it? That's what we're dealing with here. 18-year-olds don't win majors very often. Yes, it has happened, but recently, but it's not a common occurrence, is it? Yeah. I think she will more inspire a younger generation, Brett. She will inspire a lot of kids to take up the game. She's based in Kent, which is in the south of England, as you probably know. Local clubs, I know down there, know her pretty well in terms of her sort of tennis playing. A lot of clubs down there. Park Langley was actually one of her clubs, which is a club I know pretty well. So very down-to-earth girl. Unquestionably, this is going to make young children pick up tennis rackets in the UK, without a shadow of a doubt. And more so, Brett, the fact that it was on domestic television, because, you know, Amazon Prime obviously are the rights holders. I work for Amazon Prime, and I'm lucky to be involved in that setup. But they shared it with Channel 4 in the UK. Channel 4 is a domestic channel. They bought the rights. Amazon have put some of that money back in. So that's great from their point of view. But the fact it was on terrestrial television, I can only begin to wonder what the viewing figures were. 9 p.m. Saturday night is the perfect time. Obviously, a lot of children are at bed by then. But time will tell, Brett. Time will tell what impact it has. But she is an individual who's certainly going to move the needle back home.
Yeah, and polished off court, great speech. I mean, she's spoken beautifully the whole fortnight. So, what did you actually make of the final itself? We didn't get 3 sets. We got about 2 hours of tennis, and there was some great points between the two. Really stretched each other. We knew Fernandez would dig in and fight and just hang in there as long as she could. What about the spectacle that you saw?
She played the big points well again, Brett. This has been the whole theme, the whole tournament. I was just adding up on the way back there. I think she saved 28 of 34 break points in 7 matches, Brett. The last 4 rounds, she saved, I think, something like, I want to say 15 of 17 in the last 4 break points. Clutch tennis, under pressure, no panic. Serving beautifully. The serving patterns were fairly obvious today. She went wide on the juice and centre on the ad side, consistently trying to get to the backhand wing. And she presses. She takes the ball early. She takes time away. She keeps great length on the ball. She doesn't allow opponents to play. She doesn't allow time on the ball. But what's interesting, Brett, is I spoke to a couple of people who saw her play 3 qualifying matches, and they actually said in qualifying she was a lot more tentative. She was a little bit more defensive in qualifying, didn't play quite as freely. So she's matured round by round. And yeah, it's just staggering the way she's composed herself. And then to come back from the cut as well. I know that probably helped her when she was break point down, but to have the cut and to come back out, she had a lot of thinking time there, Brett, as well. You've got to remember that. That's 3 or 4 minutes where she's sitting down there thinking about what potentially may happen. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and sign off with an ace, perfect. Rather than go through another grinding point when you're just trying to get to the finish line, but you hit her spot beautifully. What a fortnight of women's tennis. It's healthy. God knows how we're even going to predict the Australian Open, who's going to be featuring at the business end, because there'll be some names emerge that we cannot even in our wildest dreams probably forecast right now. Who knows?
Extraordinary. It's extraordinary. But great for women's tennis, that's for sure.
All right. Well, you'd be happy, as I would be if I was there and an Australian who was 338 2 months ago won. That would blow my mind. And you were there on the ground to witness it, which is even more special. And no doubt back home, millions of viewers tuning in. Nick, thank you. Good job, well done.
Pleasure, Brett.